everyone. I'm Zack Johnson, GM of the embedded business at Vizier, the leader in workforce AI and productivity. Welcome to another episode of People Tech on the Edge. People Tech on the Edge is a podcast where we come together and talk about how technology is constantly reshaping the world of work as we know it. Today, I'm joined with a very special guest, Michal Nowak from SmartRecruiters. Michal, how are you doing?
Thanks, Zach. Thanks for having me. Great to be here. I'm great.
You work in a really, really cool company working on some really cool problems. Can you just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what brought you here?
Yeah, 100%. So, hi again. My name is Michal Nowak. I'm an SVP of Engineering at SmartRecruiters. So, we are building an AI recruiting platform. And in my capacity, I oversee engineering, which is like product development, infrastructure, security, and recently also customer support teams. And I joined company in 2012. So I'm one of the dinosaurs here. I'm just starting my 14th year here. It's been like an eternity for the tech space. But yeah, I just love the experience. And I stayed for so long. And yeah, I'm based in Krakow, Poland. Uh, and yeah, that's who I am.
That's an incredible journey to be with a company for that long. It speaks to your passion about the problem you solve. So what is it about hiring that captured your imagination?
Yeah, so it changed a lot over time, and the software in that space changed like dramatically over the years, right? So like if you remember 2012, the first generation of that software that we were replacing, these tools were not really used by recruiters. These were just systems of record where people were filing in data, but no one was really actively using it as a work tech. And then so the second generation of these tools came, and these were tools with really like consumer grade UI, with built-in marketplaces, with open systems, with public API, and that was that second wave of talent acquisition software. And right now we're in front of the third wave, the third generation of talent acquisition software, which is like AI native, AI powered, autonomous, supporting recruiters. And this is like yet another shift we're seeing here. So like, yeah, throughout these 10, 14 years that I've been here, I saw a lot of these shifts and changes. And that's why it's been so exciting.
That's amazing. And so if you think about like that first, like you had like the three shifts, the first shift, was there something about the hiring process or like, an experience you had interviewing or something like that that like made you be like, oh, this problem needs to be solved?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much admin in recruiting, right? There's so much inefficiency in that process. The whole thing of like, back then filling in a ton of forms and, spending 30 minutes to apply, and just not to mention crafting your CV and cover letter, but then also you enter the system that asks for like the same information that you had to retype it in the form. And then the whole pain of scheduling and actually getting together with recruiters and setting this up, and then applying and going through these multiple stages of the interview. There's It was just hard. It was just hard to go through. And yeah, and a lot of these problems in the recruiting space are just meant to be solved through software, through good engineering and building good products, right? So that's why it's so exciting, because a lot of these inefficiencies, just great candidates to build software to help, and nowadays also to add AI to solve some of these issues.
Totally. And so for a lot of people are familiar with smart recruiters, but for maybe those who are less familiar with smart recruiters, what kind of companies do you help improve their hiring processes?
Yeah, I would say our sweet spot are large, global, multinational companies that are operating in multiple different areas. We've built a system that is just tailored towards supporting these large enterprises. It is just a system that we built to flexible enough to adapt to very various different hiring scenarios. So that's probably one thing that I'm proud of. But then there's others, right? Like I think we have a really solid UX and user experience. So this is really the system that our users are actually using it and using it day to day. It is open. It has public API. We now launched our like smart recruiters in Teams and Slack, so you can use the work tech to integrate with it. And yeah, and since last year, we were like marching forward with a lot of AI use cases. We found actually a lot of problems in that space that can be elegantly solved using the AI, and we're marching forward and shipping more of these.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. So, you described these like three phases of hiring software that you've lived through while building smart careers. This third one, is it the craziest one you've seen yet? Like this AI transformation? Like it's got to be just bananas right now
Yeah.
building software in this environment.
Yeah, I think everyone that I talk with, like all the recruiters that I talk with, like our customers, they just see like a breakneck pace of like how things are changing around them. They just like they feel like it's too fast. They are unable to just keep up with all the changes, and it's just like they cannot test all the tools, try them out. Like they're often like what do we need to do there? Which tools should we adopt? It is just changing so rapidly. So yeah, it is probably the craziest. Yeah, I mean crazy enough that we last year we just decided to halt everything. We decided stop the roadmap and just rethink the whole thing.
That's wild. So I want to ask you about what the experience was like halting the roadmap and like how did you even navigate that as an engineering organization? Because that's a big decision. But like if you think about the end user experience, right? Like we went from AI exists to everybody has a chatbot to like we're gonna have agents, but like what exactly is an agent? Like how do you think about the role of agentic AI in the future of recruiting? Like, are you more excited about like the workflows, the authoring, the decision making? Like, help me orient how you would think about some of those complex concepts.
Yeah, yeah. So there are a couple of things that needs to be covered here. One, there's this notion of AI agents like taking over uh, large aspects of the apply process and the recruiting process. And I'm saying like you have agents right now that can build your job description. Like you don't have to type it. Obviously, there is an agent, there is an AI tool that will create a good looking job description for you. There are other agents that take that job description, analyze it, and build your CV that matches that job description, matches your skills, and you got it. Now there's like a third group of agents that match these CVs to job descriptions. So it is that weird dynamic of like AI agents right now uh, working together, and we're kind of on the sidelines watching them how interact. And this is like a very bizarre thing to watch. And these users are beneficial to the candidates, for instance. So an AI agent can help you, write a better CV, pinpoint the key things, or leverage like the skills or relevant experience for you. They can help you prep for the interview, so you can have a mock interview with an agent right now, or prep like hey, figure out the questions that I'm most probably going to get asked. So these are like good things, but now you hear about fake applicants applying right now. I just read about like a Polish startup that almost hired a person that used like deep fake AI and was just really artificial CV, artificial LinkedIn profile, but also now artificial video interview and an avatar applying. So for companies like that are fully remote, it is a risk, and it's really dangerous, right? To hire a person and then potentially like lose the company secret information or lose money over this, right? So there are also like these dangers. So that's one part of the picture, that dynamic over there. From where I sit, and there's also a lot of human connection that right now we can build or build easier with AI tooling. So if you think about this process of scheduling, for instance, which is really tedious, really hard, and it needs to happen at scale. You need to just take into account like multiple availabilities. It's a perfect job for an AI agent to do it. for you, right? And this just helps get in front of the customer much faster, much more efficient, just to connect the human to human quicker, right? There's also, you can write more thoughtful messages. For instance, rejection messages. A large chunk of candidates will never hear back from recruiters from a company. They will never get any message at all. Right now, with these AI agents, you can not only respond to them, but respond to them in a thoughtful manner, taking into account the interview feedback. So this actually gives some value to these candidates, right? And then, I talked about like CV creation, but also like these agents can surface the relevant skills, the relevant opportunities. Like if you have 1,000 candidates and that huge list of people that applied for your job, there will be like, these agents will help you surface relevant candidates, right? So they're providing a more equal chance of getting employed, and that's also one of the reasons, like this matching thing, that this needs AI systems needs to be built in a very like responsible, thoughtful manner. But yeah, this is the landscape.
Super, super cool. And thank you for going deep on each of those. So there are like a few big themes that emerge from that on like the value that AI can provide, and also some big themes on like the risks and challenges that you're in real time navigating with your customers. So let's see if I got some of this. So on the value side, um, the same way you said there's all this admin like back in the early phases, it's like there's still that admin. So whether it's like scheduling or like parsing through things, etc., like AI is going to be able to in a lot of ways do that better than a human can, more quickly, more effectively, more efficiently, which is going to maximize like time spent on things that provide value, right? That seemed like one. The second one was there's a big theme of experience. So like uh I am a candidate. Am I being talked to like I'm a human? And it's kind of ironic that like AI is the unlock for that experience, but like, I think about like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, like the ghosting of candidates that became like a TikTok meme, and like, how you're handling rejection, how you're doing prep and all those things. And so in a lot of ways you can have like a hiring coach, right? Um, the only one you didn't bring up is like hiring decision making, which I do think is a opportunity and also challenge, right? Because you have to watch out for some of the most like targeted AI use cases under scrutiny are like choosing a particular candidate. If you have AI make that choice, that breaks the law in some places. So like
Yeah,
big opportunity, big challenge, but it is also a question where like if you're looking at 200 candidates for one job, like who's the person who's going to be most likely to be awesome at that job? Like there's a lot of interesting data in the outside world, on the inside world, et cetera, to be connected. But it's a wild time. Like all that opportunity, all that risk, and like you said, the customer's kind of overwhelmed, right? It's like every day there's a new innovation.
100%. Yeah. So that automated decision making, right? Like this is something that, well, we basically, I feel like we cannot do that for recruiters, right? So there needs to be a human oversight, and this is the big challenge. So if you think about it, these AI systems right now, the AI system that we build, they will surface skills. They will surface some information from a CV and just highlight them. They will mark some of these skills are matching in green. Some of them might be yellow, right? Or there might be they might identify a perfect matching candidates for your job, right? And even if these systems will not decide on behalf of recruiters, they will influence their thinking, right? They will prompt them for, some choices to be made. And then if you think about it, this just happens on the large scale, right? Potentially to millions and millions of candidates. So we feel like tremendous weight on our shoulders to make sure these systems are ethical and responsible. And it's just a huge task and a big thing that you need to like design into those systems, right? So there's just a lot of thought and a lot of effort to make sure, like for these use cases, we're building, the safest and most ethical systems that we can build. Yeah, because in AI in recruiting, you think like, what is the risky use of AI, and people will tell you the healthcare, credit scoring, and recruiting, right? These are some of the most risky applications of AI.
And I love that you summarize that with like the healthcare credit score and recruiting, because you can make a structural decision that impacts somebody's life and livelihood, and it's like you can't look and there's no accountability, right? So I, the it takes a lot of stewardship to build software that's thoughtful, mindful, and compliant, especially as like the regulatory landscapes a complete
Exactly.
moving target, and also it's going to be different in different regions. So if your customers are large multinationals, how do you set something up that's going to be ahead of where things are going to go, still give you that technology edge, but also be something that you can trust you can roll out? Like that's it's just I think that's one of the challenges of building at scale B2B tech, particularly enterprise tech right now, is how do you do all those things really well? Um, and it's hard. It's really, really hard. So I have a lot of respect for what you're building and trying to do. I think the what's funny is the risk really is a two-way street though. Like there's the risk that a candidate gets passed over or put through something that's unfair, right? There's also the risk for the company, like you said, you've got deep fakes, you have uh candidates who are misrepresenting their experience but doing so extremely credibly. But actually one of the ones that's kind of funny, like I've even seen this in interviews, is like if you have any sort of like pre-work for an interview or like, like do project-based stuff, the projects sometimes will be 100% done by AI, which like in some ways is good. It shows the person's like using AI creatively to do the job. But in some ways, like the whole point of it's to reflect the understanding, you know? And so there's this catch 22 where it's like, and I think this creates some of the real, there's talking about the technology and what the technology does. But if you also look at like talent management at a macro level in the world, like you need to like when I started my career, I was doing super basic data entry, like on the side for extra money, which actually helped really inform my understanding of how data models worked. Because if you're literally messing around with like binary, if you're fact checking binary data sets for like I was doing it with network analysis, I really understood where the network came from. Challenge is if from day one you can use AI to do super advanced problems, do you learn some of the like foundational skills that are required to then build upon it? Otherwise, you just build on air. And so I do think there's like this weird agentic loop in hiring a little bit, right? Where it's like an AI takes the JD, writes a resume, writes a cover letter, you interview, the interview is evaluated
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
same way. And so like it's I don't know. It makes me I think about it a little philosophically, which is like where's it all gonna settle? I don't know if it'll ever settle.
Yeah, it's a tough question, right? But like, but there are like, so just for the safety of the AI system, there are things you can do here, right? So it's not like we're helpless. It is, I think, first of all, you need to design with customers for the use case like this that is potentially risky. You need to always design with the customers and make sure like you're building something they're comfortable using, right? And this is something that they want to use. They know how this system behaves and they know what to expect. And we just are blessed with customers that are super passionate about this tech. They give us feedback all the time and just spend countless hours with us with the design partner program, and that just basically really build that software with us. Um, I think like also you need to make sure the systems are explainable. So like it cannot be like a magical box that just spits out outputs. You need to make sure this system like that is has explainability built in, and you can just trace back why these skills have been like highlighted, why the score has been like looks like this, right? You need to be able to comprehend that. And then finally you need to test it, right? You need to test the agent. All right, if you treat your AI agent like an intern helping you, you wouldn't hire an intern without checking anything, right? You usually run through this an interview process, right? And then the same thing is happening right now with an agents. And we are fortunate to partner with super smart companies that are actually testing um, agent trustworthiness. And it's such an interesting topic because it's there's so many aspects to it, right? There's like the notion of bias, right? And then racial, gender, disability, location, institutional. There are like all these different forms of bias that you need to be aware of. Or like stereotype, if the agent is like, engaged in a stereotypic behavior, or toxicity, right? If the agent uses profanity or not, like, or robustness, like, you just ask the agent for the same thing, and it just more or less responds this in a similar manner, which is super tough for like in Gen AI that are like undeterministic. So yeah, but you can test for all of these, and you can try to just validate this and verify, and you need to put a lot of effort into this, right? So these are some of the techniques, some of the considerations that we're certainly having before shipping that software.
Totally. I mean, we're seeing some of the same things just when it comes to like using data, right, with AI, because you can throw whatever data you want, and AI will generally come to its own conclusions. So you have to make sure that the observability is super high. You also have to make sure that like it's there has to be like a contextual data model. Otherwise, like you're making up the numbers you're using to do the math in the first place, which becomes a huge problem. And so it's similar themes applied in different ways, right? So you mentioned earlier like when the big AI, oh my God moment came, you paused the roadmap. Like, and I
Yeah,
believe you told me you paused the roadmap. It was, what was it? It was for like for 3 months of releases, just like
yeah,
pause. So
yeah. That was
how are you leading through this moment as a technologist, as a exec? Like, talk me through like that moment and like how you're thinking about this stuff now.
that was that was great. We looked at our roadmap, and like the pace of this advancement just got to a point where we look at the roadmap and thought to ourselves, look, are these features going to be even relevant like a year from now? Will anyone use it? And we decided that like we need to rethink all of that and just get back to the drawing board. We told our customers that there will be no releases for 3 months. We're just pausing everything. And we took 30% of the team and we sent them for an aggressive discovery work. So we picked up a bunch of engineers, product managers, designers, and they were just swarming our customers and doing like customer interview after interview. We did dozens and dozens and dozens of these interviews, and just to really like uncover these problems, like for like second time, like let's just do a second look at everything that we wanted to build, and let's just look at it through the lens of like this emerging technology, right? So we had 30% of the team doing this, and really the remaining 70%, the engineers, they were sharpening the axe. So we were rewriting both our front end and back end tech stack, and we were trying to optimize it so that it's just better suited for AI assistant coding. So we decided we need to standardize the tech stack even more. We were never like having like too many technologies, but we went on standardize the backend tech stack around Java and backend frameworks, and with the front end we did the TypeScript, and we rolled out our design system and made sure really that the tech stack that we're ending up with will be like easy to integrate with these AI assistant developer tools, right? So like we try to just standardize around the most popular framework where there is the most training data, and that's what like we shifted the whole tech stack. Yeah, so that was and then we spent a quarter doing this, and afterwards like the Winston was born. So that quarter we designed the Winston, the AI assistant.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Because like, and I hope you don't mind if I ask a couple questions about that journey. Because like the I think there's a lot of people who are in various stages of journey themselves, right? So like a whole bunch of companies basically took a tiger team, spun them out and said, start from scratch. Some people said, let's go and just modify our current platform by injecting AI in, whether it's like a co-pilot integration or what have you, at various levels of um, architectural significance. What's really cool is when you talk about replatforming front end and back end at a time when the technology is changing fast that nobody has the expertise yet. Like the best practices for AI ready are like in flux at the same time. Like, how did you build that expertise as a team? Like, how did you make those architectural decisions? Like, I'm just curious if you learned anything there that might be helpful for other people doing the same thing.
Yeah. So that productivity work we did, it's just like, we try to future proof us and just, optimize around the tech stack that has a potential to be like easier to work with AI. And then when it comes to like the team and skill set, yeah, I mean, we had some skill set in-house, because we were building AI systems before, like starting 2017. But then we needed to just scale it and just really like grow that skills and the amount of that skill set within the team. I think like there are a couple of important things here. So like one is really ability to run the discovery product discovery and identify good use cases for AI, right? So like that is something that all of the product teams should adopt right now and try to figure out the good use cases, right? What might be the high potential or like good use cases for the use of AI. So things like, and in general, things where there's a lot of repeated activity, right, that happening all the time, where there's a need to analyze a lot of data. And when your problem is not when imperfection is not a problem, because these tools are so like non-deterministic. You can ask an AI system like 6 times about the same thing, and you ask them, you got 5 answers, and the sixth one is a different. So like if your problem is like immune to that imperfection, okay, there might be a good use case for using that technology, right? So we try to just make sure that every product team can understand how to identify these problems and run a discovery, right? And that's one thing we did. The other thing is we did a lot of partnerships with folks like AWS. They have an amazing team running prototyping. And we just spent a lot of time with them prototyping together so we're standardizing over AWS, and these folks really helped us to kickstart, bootstrap some of these efforts, and that was really helpful. Also, there's a lot of great tools out there. So for instance, for managing internally, for managing conversation flow, we use Rasa as a framework. And it also helped us jumpstart and just help us build something. So using the tools and partnerships to inject that knowledge was the second big thing. And third really is around the engineering productivity and basically making sure engineers can leverage these tools to their benefit to improve their life. And that's a big area of training and onboarding and cross training with the team. So yeah, that will be these three elements.
Thank you so much. I think the journey is pretty wild because a lot of our companies experience the same way where everybody had that first magical moment and some people were earlier to LLMs in particular than others, and there's also like people have been building machine learning models for a long time now, right? So there's all sorts of different applications of AI, but that software development has been very deterministic for a long time. You set something up, you run QA, you see what breaks, and you fix it, and you run it again, and then you see if it's actually fixed. Running something that's non-deterministic is really crazy. Now, the irony is it's a lot like people management, right? Like humans are non-deterministic. You don't rate people's performance on 100% outcome most of the time. It's are they right most of the time? Do they make good decisions when they encounter different problems? And so it's been really interesting seeing the discipline of software development go from something that's extremely hardline determinist engineer to non-determinist, almost psychologist, where it's I'm just trying to cajole this system into being consistent enough for me to then actually set my workflow together. And so it's an interesting skill time. I'm curious. So you get to you had a big focus on listening to customers and listening to their use cases and working with customers to make sure it clicks. What are you hearing from customers or seeing at customers that get the deterministic versus non-deterministic thing? Are some customers just getting it right early, able to adopt the technology and experiment, and others are stuck? How are you seeing that dynamic play out when you actually roll out features?
Yeah, there's a whole variety of responses, right? There are customers that are like really open to test a lot of different things, and they're trying it out, and just accepting some of the risk of like using early products in their alpha version, and just really trying a lot of different tools. There's a lot of customers that are naturally more cautious, and they're like, and for a good reason, right? They're businesses like that are working on like nuclear power plants, and like hiring people there, or like government agencies, or like labs. So, and they're like more cautious, and they want to have like a better, more options for like rolling out the software for a small sample of users, trying them out in a limited scope. They're also like really digging hard into how these systems are being built. So most of the companies right now also built their own AI governance or AI working groups, and these teams are building like the procurement processes. And this is like great because we have a conversations. They are often offering us tests, or they're like sharing how they think about evaluating the software. So this helps us also like respond to that and build better systems. So yeah, that's that. And so there's a wide spectrum of how people are adopting and using these systems. The one thing that is just like commonly brought up is like adopting the conversational way of working, or chat to do the recruiting. This is not something common. This is not something that we're used to, right? It's a different like way of interacting with the talent acquisition software. So yeah, that is something that we're also trying to figure out. And there's just a lot of aspects here, like when the chat will pop up, like how it presents itself, and what are these points in the life cycle of the product that mandate, hey, I'm here to help, or hey, I noticed something interesting, let's have a conversation, right? And then the other thing is, not everything should be like a conversation. We're also like spending a lot of time figuring out how to render UI within the chat, do the adaptive UI, because there's a lot of use cases where you should not just type all the comments, right? So if the chat asks you, where do you live, you should render a map and allow people to click on it, right? Or if you want to upload a file, of course, like there will be file upload. Or if you fill in the form, then you should be able to fill a form and just dynamically build it. So that's that's another thing that helps you adopt the software. And the third thing is like we're thinking about is really like getting the software into work tech, right? Embedding our agent within Teams or Slack, where you often like spend most of your day and you chat in these tools, right? So this is just like more natural environment for these tools.
Yeah, that's absolutely. It's funny because like I think there's recurring themes I'm seeing appear talking to people building technology and implementing technology across a wide variety of organizations. One of them, which you just brought up, is medium, which is everything a chat? Is everything a voice input? Like, are people using things to click maps? Like, it's kind of anyone's guess, and so you have to be prepared for being wrong, I think, like as a builder. Like, you know what I mean? Because you're and this goes back to the work tech thing. Like, you're not going to supplant Teams as the dominant screen or medium. So like, how do you integrate? What happens if Teams like totally shifts paradigms, right? Like, and so part of that's like how flexible you can be. I think the other one too, which is a really fascinating question I've been spending a lot of time thinking about, is like, what are the units of work? So like, as someone who like manages people and has a decent sized org, the meeting has become a really important unit of work. Like you have a half an hour meeting, you have an hour meeting. God forbid you have a 2 hour meeting. What can you get done? You get 2 hours of quiet work. What does it look like? It's weird picturing work being like stream of conscious in Slack. Like, yes, there's all this back and forth, but like Slack's horrible for actually managing workflow, right? And so like, how do we take these tools that are so conversational and lacking structure and then create new forms of structure to be able to manage them? Or are the tools going to actually manage us? Right. And so like I think there's some really cool, I mean, manage us not in like the machines take over way, but just like what what does a good day of work look like? Right?
Yeah.
Like a good day of school is established, but a good day of work changes based on your role, based on your seniority, based on the type of industry you're in. based on a whole bunch of different things. And so it's really cool that you get to work in a business that cuts across all these different types of work globally to do the same process each time, but the process can differ. It's wild what you're getting to work on right now. I'm excited to know you, man.
It's really cool. Well, it is super interesting. It's been super interesting. And if you would talk with our product designers, I think for them, that's even bigger shift than for engineers. How to design a conversation that is well structured, that can be followed, that is less error prone, that will get to where you want, and and where should we have a conversation versus render a UI. This is like what they're thinking about right now, and that shift is just massive. We were shocked, like how different it is to design it. So yeah, this is big, right? And a lot of the UI will be gone, right? If you think about scheduling, rendering a calendar, like adding people in, comparing who's available when, it's just getting super complex, super fast. And if you think about just typing, hey, I'm out of office this week, move all my meetings for the next one. It's just so much easier, right? It's easy, like, I don't know, 200 hours just saved on doing all of that, manual tweaking. So yeah, I think there are use cases that are just excellent fitted for that conversation.
I don't think it's been a better time to build technology because it's so exciting and you can become an expert so fast because everybody else, no one has like 20 years of expertise on this. Like it's totally new. And so you can go from zero to like really being quite expert and influential really fast. And like it's funny because like if you think about the levers of business, you basically have like the levers for building a business or building an organization from inside, right? You have people, process, technology, and like capital, right? And like people, process, and technology are going to fundamentally change because of AI. And so you've such a moving target, and like kids, for lack of a better word, are going to make up entirely new organization models. We're going to make up entirely new ways of organizing and operating. And some of them will be self-originating. And it's just, it reminds me of like, we've seen a few technology booms. Like I used to work in like music marketing and like entertainment stuff. And when social media came out, no one was an expert on social media except people who use social media, which were mostly young people. And so you actually had this really cool boom where like it was an amazing way to start a career and like create a footprint because you were the expert and adults would listen to you and it was awesome. And I think AI is similar. And so the last question I just want to ask you was, do you have any advice for people who are either getting into tech or rethinking what they're doing in tech with regards to all this?
It is interesting, right? It's AI. It's been, as of today, as of March 2025, AI serves mostly the senior people and really like experienced users because of that 70% rule that Adios Money from Google, he coined it. And it basically says there's AI will take you 70% there, but the last 30% actually will you just spend most of your time publishing your product, making sure it's production ready, it's performant, it's secure, it's usable, the quality is there, right? And this just takes a ton of time. So as of today, that 30% still exists. And if you look at how senior people work with AI right now, they just, there is a generated code but they constantly rework it and constantly improve it. They just talk with the machine and use it as a tool, but then never blindly trust the outcomes. I think, but it is for the people that are just getting into tech, I would say really focus on fundamentals, on like really deep understanding of what's underneath the frameworks and languages. The differences between languages and frameworks are now like becoming really like so much easier to grasp. And the differences in using different technologies and languages. I mean, these AI assistant tools, they will get you there. They will explain a lot of these concepts. They'll help you migrate between languages and frameworks or generate a lot of code for you. But you need to understand the fundamentals and the concepts and the foundation of it, right? So you need to, as of today, you need to understand what's being worked on. And I think the other thing that is just becoming extremely important right now is the ability to work across functions, and for engineers to be able to work effectively, not only across functions like product and design, but also together with customers and understanding the business and domain and communicate clearly. There's so much more emphasis on using the English language to interact with machine, writing thoughtful prompts, or pointing out to the machine what needs to be generated. That English is becoming the hottest programming language of 2025. And the clarity of communication, the structure, is becoming extremely important. And this is something writing well is a skill that is more and more important right now, I think. So yeah, these are these two advice I would give. Yeah, it's a different world for these people, for sure.
It's a different world. And I think one that was coming out through our conversation too is like, so much of the AI boom around software was how do we take existing process and like AIify it? But really quickly it's turned into what would this look like if the original process didn't exist? What would this look like if the original assumptions weren't there? Which is crazy because it's pure invention. And that's takes creativity in beginner's mind, and so the combination's tricky. How do you, like you said, to have something that gets you 70% of the way there that you're growing up using, still be able to learn the 30%, right? Without necessarily doing all the legwork, but also be in a place where there's infinite creative options. It's really quite tricky. And but it's exciting, right? And I find
It
with
is.
great challenging chaos comes opportunity, but it's tough.
It is, but also learning right now, the barrier to learn is just so much lower. Like with these new tools, right? That do a deep research for you. You're starting a project. You're thinking about what would be the best architecture, and you can have that tool basically go through and run a deep search, and just in a fraction of time tell you, hey, most probably this is what you should do. And it's a tool. You use it as a an asset, a tool, to help you out. But it's such a boost to be able to quickly understand what's out there, and how to structure your thinking. It's just amazing. Yeah.
It's just amazing. Well, thank you, my friend. I really, really appreciate you coming and joining me on People Tech on the Edge. It's a great conversation. We covered so much ground from like the phases you've seen the recruiting world going through to like how you and your team dealt with like the AI boom and have thought about it with your own roadmap to like advice for people who are building product and of course how AI and modern technology is transforming like the recruiting and job applicant process. So thank you so much for taking time. Thank you for taking time late at night. And I'm really glad we got to sit down and talk. This was a great conversation.
Zach, thank you so much. It was great speaking to you. Thanks for having me on the podcast.